fans, we have a lot to unpack on today's show. So first and foremost, I am the host of Warriors Today, Allie Barefoot, and there have been new reports that have come out since the Warriors lost the Denver Nuggets, saying that Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody are not happy with Steve Kerr and their role with the Golden State Warriors. And understandably so. This has been a very interesting season for the Dubs, and Steve Kerr has admitted he's had a hard time figuring out which players are going to play night in, night out. However, Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody have finally spoken up just weeks before the NBA trade deadline on February 8th. Let's go ahead and break down the first report here from Shams of The Athletic, saying after sitting the final 18 minutes of the Nuggets loss, Warriors forward Jonathan Kuminga has lost faith in Steve Kerr and no longer believes that Kerr will allow him to reach his full potential, sources do say. This is just honestly heartbreaking, to be honest, because Jonathan Kuminga has already come out and said, look, I'm frustrated because I play great night in and night out, but yet I get taken off the court and I'm not sure why. But of course, Steve Kerr has said he's just going to play who's ever playing the best in the game. But it got to a point where Steve Kerr talked about Jonathan Kuminga's performance against the Denver Nuggets and said, look, he was playing great. His normal time to go back in, which he was taken out at the end of the third quarter, he didn't play any of the fourth quarter. He said his time for going back in would have been around the 5 or 6 minute mark in the fourth quarter, but Wiggins was playing so great. We were up 18-19, so we just stayed with him. At that point, he had been sitting for a while, so I stayed with the group that was already out there. Now, if you guys do remember, they did have an 18-point lead. However, the Warriors lost that 18-point lead without Jonathan Kuminga. But if you look at JK and Wiggins' stats in the second half of the Denver Nuggets game, they were shooting the exact same. They made the exact same amount of baskets, 5 field goals made. However, Jonathan Kuminga took 3 less shots because he wasn't playing the fourth quarter. But then their effective field goal percentage. Obviously, JK was more effective than Wiggins in the second quarter when he was in the ballgame. At 2-point shooting at best, when you look at the 25% three-point percentage for Andrew Wiggins, he did 1 of 4 shots. He only made 1 3-pointer. JK didn't take as many, so maybe Steve Kerr wanted a 3-point shooter out there. But at this point, the only person that can answer this question is Steve Kerr, and he's choosing to play Andrew Wiggins over Jonathan Kuminga, regardless of how great JK is playing, and the stats are showing that. So I think first and foremost, I've read your comments. Do you guys think Jonathan Kuminga should be playing more than Andrew Wiggins? Well, if you do, I need you to go on ahead and like this video. Show JK some love, even if Steve Kerr isn't playing him. Even if you think Andrew Wiggins should have played over Jonathan Kuminga, comment down below, tell me why. But overall, like the button if you like JK over Wiggy. Because here is what came out after the loss against the Denver Nuggets. It was very obscure, but it was just Thursday night was the straw that broke the camel's back. This is what some sources said after the Warriors lost, which leads me to believe something happened from the final buzzer, which was a buzzer beater by Jokic, to the tunnel, to the locker room, and what happened with Jonathan Kuminga is now a mystery. But look, this isn't new. Even when Andrew Wiggins took his hiatus last year due to personal reasons, JK stepped up to help the Warriors win in that time period. But then when Wiggins came back, poof, JK doesn't play anymore. And this is what I'm afraid is going to happen when Draymond Green comes back. Who's going to have to sit so that Draymond Green can play? Because we all know Steve Kerr's probably going to play Draymond Green. He's one of the 3 players in that core that Steve Kerr has coached for the past 10 years. But here's what Jonathan Kuminga had to say. He said, I didn't really have much to say about that. The rest of the guys were playing good. We had a lead. Everybody was happy. Everybody was hype. But there was no explanation. I was just on the bench cheering just like another teammate. I really don't know. I didn't see it coming at all, especially the way that I was playing. I thought he was playing great. I stand by Jonathan Kuminga when he says this. I don't know what happened. This was his last play in the third quarter, and he didn't see the fourth quarter at all. It was a beautiful and one on Austin Rivers and Jokic right there beside him. It was an aggressive play that had Chase Center bumping. It had the team rallying behind him. Jonathan Kuminga has a level of athleticism that I think Andrew Wiggins doesn't have. Why? Because I think the younger mentality does help JK in some aspects. I'm not saying JK is better than Wiggins, who is a former All-Star, but this season, when their stats are neck and neck, I've liked JK's play better than Andrew Wiggins on the floor, and it's just tough to see JK not playing night in and night out. So overall, you got the first report that comes out after a devastating loss to the former NBA champions. How concerned are you guys? Is it time to finally panic about the Golden State Warriors. Go on ahead and rate your level of concern 1 through 10 in the comments down below. I think right now I'm at a solid 7.5. I think that a trade could definitely help a lot of these issues. But overall, if there's multiple players saying they're not happy with your team, that locker room is going to be messy. Go on ahead and comment that down below while I bring up another significant report that did come out. But first, I want to talk to you guys about Factor Meals. It's a ready-to-eat meal service that's going to make your life 10 times easier. Why? Because there's no mess, no prep, no fuss. These are just delicious, fresh, never frozen meals that take less than 2 minutes to heat up, and you have a chef-crafted meal right there at your fingertips. This is great for starting off the new year, right? Especially if you guys are looking to lose some weight, have some calorie deficiency, or just go something like keto. They have plenty of options for you. You guys know me. I prefer not to eat red meat, so the chicken options have been my go-to so far, and I have absolutely loved it. And it's not just dinner. They have lunch options, breakfast, and grab-and-go snacks. Not to mention, their smoothies are made with a full hydration's worth of a coconut. Oh my goodness, they are fantastic. If you guys want to go ahead and try out Factor Meals, all you have to do is go to factormeals.com/DubsChat50. You want to use promo code DubsChat50 because it's going to get you 50% off. One more time, just go to factormeals.com/DubsChat50. Use promo code DubsChat50 and you're going to get 50% off this fresh, never frozen meal service. And I promise you are not going to be disappointed. Something that is kind of disappointing is that shortly after Shams released that article of JK being unhappy and losing faith with Steve Kerr, well, Moses Moody's team, sources say, came out and said he's also not happy within the Golden State Warriors organization. This one was a little less surprising to me because Steve Kerr's already come out and said Moody is going to be the victim of the rotation while he figures out who should be on the floor. So 95.7 The Game said this is what Moses Moody's people said. They said the people around Moses are frustrated with the lack of a role and consistency, for the lack of a better term. It feels like he's the sacrificial lamb. Whenever there's a logjam, he's the guy that falls out. Steve Kerr has already fully admitted this. He said, while I'm trying to figure out who's going to play in the rotation, who's going to be in the starting lineup, Moses Moody tends to kind of get the end of the stick, if you know where I'm going with that one. So I understand. I would be frustrated too, especially as a younger guy. I think it's very frustrating when these younger guys are doing everything they can to impress their coach, as they should. They're new in this league. I'm not saying all younger players should start over veterans, but even when they are playing well, they don't seem to get rewarded because of Steve Kerr's mindset of always playing veterans. Because look at what Moses Moody has done the past 5 games, not including last night against the Denver Nuggets, which he did not play once again. He had 11 points in 17 minutes against Portland. Then on Christmas, he saw 3 minutes of garbage time with 0 points. Then back on Miami, 13 minutes, 11 points. Obviously making more in the plus category for the team. Dallas doesn't play. Orlando doesn't play. Next game, Nuggets doesn't play. That's going to mess with your confidence, especially as a younger player in the NBA. But overall, it's Steve Kerr's choice. The head coach did tell media Moody is the victim of rotation experiments, and he also said he's having a hard time figuring out whether to play Moody or Corey Joseph, which I don't agree with. But Moody's people saying he's a sacrificial lamb, I mean, that has to mean that Moody wants out. It has to mean he's not happy there. And with the trade deadline coming up on February 8th, that could be pretty not surprising if Moody were to be included in a trade package, because this is a thing that's happened in the past few years. James Wiseman left, and that's not necessarily Steve Kerr's fault. I just don't think that was the player the Warriors thought he was going to be. So they didn't re-sign him. We all know what happened with Jordan Poole. He got punched in the face and he got sent to the Wizards. That's pretty much what happened there. Jonathan Kuminga, now Moses Moody, are the next young players that have kind of stepped up and said, look, this may not be the team for me. My talent's being wasted here. I don't feel appreciated in this organization. And believe me, I am not a part of the type of people who are participation trophy. I think you should earn and you should deserve all your playing time. But I do think JK and Moses Moody have at least earned something in the rotation, especially JK, who's been playing night in and night out on the starting lineup. And then you don't play in the fourth quarter against the former NBA Finals champions? It's a little bit confusing. So I don't blame these two Warriors. Overall, do you guys think the Warriors should trade Kuminga and Moses Moody? I don't want to see either of these players traded. But it's getting to a point where if players aren't happy in your locker room, your team's not going to be happy. Your chemistry is going to be all off. And the Warriors can't keep affording to have bad chemistry. They're 16 and 18. They've been playing without Gary Payton II with an injury. And who knows when Draymond Green's coming back to play for the Warriors. Which, who knows, he's going to have to sit when Draymond Green comes back. I think if there's bad chemistry, you got to break it up. Type Y for yes, type N for no. If you think the Warriors should trade Kuminga or Moody, and while you guys are at it, hit that sub button for me, because if anything happens with either of these players, with Draymond Green, with anybody on the Warriors, we're going to talk about it right here first and foremost. So go on ahead and hit that sub button for me.